G'day and welcome to Acting Vertical. Today, I'd like to start this video by asking you, what is your favorite character in vertical dramas? Do you prefer heroes or villains, vampires or werewolves? Verticals have been around now for more than 3 years in English-speaking countries and over a decade across Asia. Throughout their development, we've seen many tropes be reused and recycled, with many English verticals becoming shot-for-shot remakes of successful Chinese short dramas. There are a lot of tropes to cover, so I'll explain the storyline in a broad sense, and then we can dive into each specific trope in more detail. A typical day in Vertland begins with the highest form of betrayal. The man that you are about to marry. The same man that you have supported through years and years of struggle and hardship humiliates you at the altar by revealing that he is going to marry your best friend instead. In a cruel twist of fate, you somehow find yourself married to a humble mechanic, or perhaps a janitor. And for the next few weeks, you are mercilessly humiliated, abused, and bullied. In classic rom-com fashion, you find out that your humble mechanic boyfriend is actually a secret billionaire. And your ex gets thrown in jail for doing something illegal, which creates a perfect fairy tale ending. This narrative structure takes on various forms, but serves as a general foundation for how each character fits into a vertical drama. Let's delve into the specific characters now, starting with the female lead. Before we do that, I have an announcement to make. Viewing statistics show me that you are probably not subscribed. So if you're enjoying this video and you've already watched 2 minutes of my content, then the odds are that you will like the other content on my channel and whatever I might have cooking up in the future. So subscribe. The character tropes are just tropes. This means that they are classic, common, garden variety characters that you would expect to see in any given average vertical drama. You will hopefully engage with a project that has some kind of unique flavor, and that means that it won't follow the tropes exactly as I explain them to you now. This is a really good thing. Use the following information as a guide for how each character would generally fit into that story. So let's talk about the female lead. This is the protagonist, and so we follow as the viewer the journey of the female lead throughout the story. She is intelligent, she is capable, and her arc goes from victim to hero. At the beginning of the story, she loses everything. She's put at her absolute rock bottom, and we follow her journey as she reclaims her power and finds her way back. Despite being bullied, harassed, and humiliated repetitively, the female lead remains pure of heart, and she will often be self-sacrificial in helping others. Viewers will connect with the female lead because her emotional journey is so outrageous. This means that the female lead's ability to express emotion and connect with their audience is paramount to the success of the project. In my personal opinion, on almost every production, she is the hardest working actor on set. The male lead, on the other hand, is charming, handsome, and has a very strong moral compass. The classic, strong, silent, stoic hero works really well for this character. However, it's important that you show more emotion and care in the private scenes that he has with the female lead. The emotional connection and expression of emotion from the male lead towards the female lead is essential to the story because it shows that the male lead is the only other major character that sees and acknowledges the female lead's emotional journey as being so outrageous. This creates a very strong relationship between the viewer and the male lead's character because they can see him as a savior who will protect the sweet, innocent female lead. In many stories, he will also be portrayed as a sex icon, with the inclusion of a shower scene or a shirtless scene very common in verticals. In terms of their relationship, there are a few common options. Firstly, the most common storyline that we see in verticals is a male billionaire pretending to be poor. He does so that the female lead will fall in love with him for who he is as a person, rather than for the fact that he has so much money. Eventually, the female lead will leave him because of this lie, but will ultimately forgive him after he saves her from some kind of traumatic kidnapping or similar scary situation. The second alternative is that he reveals his wealth in the beginning, and in this case, he typically forces the female lead into a relationship with him, leveraging his wealth until she submits. It might be that he employs her, buys the business that she's working at, pays for a family member's surgery, or otherwise uses his wealth or status in order to do something significant enough to force her to stay in the relationship. In contrast, she is the one person that he's not able to win over with money, and this drives his interest in her. These stories might start with an unknown one-night stand that then leads to a job interview the next day where he is revealed to be the CEO or her boss. The third alternative is a mafia story, and this usually begins with the female lead rejecting the male lead, which shocks him so much that he falls in love with her confidence and audacity. In these stories, the female lead usually has a lot more self-assurance, and the male lead is typically more predatory and lacks the high moral standard you would expect from a hero. For this reason, I would see him more as an anti-hero that develops throughout the story. By the end, he is softened, and the female lead has taught him how to love and how to accept being loved. These kind of stories typically have a lot of action scenes, so for that reason, personally, they're my favorite. Let's talk about the villains. Villains are significantly more free and therefore very fun characters to play. They have so much opportunity to be extremely charismatic. Think kind of like a Disney villain and then turn that up a few more notches. The purpose of the villain in the story is to unite the two leads and the audience against a common enemy. These characters will typically express a performative power, turning the entire world against the leads by spreading rumors or lying about their wealth and status. When the heroes reveal the villain's nasty scheme, they become pathetic, either by begging for forgiveness, or throwing each other under the bus, or doubling down on what is already a failed and doomed plan. The female villains are insanely nasty to the female lead. They will use language that is rude and derogatory, so much so that they would get you kicked out of any professional establishment in less than 60 seconds. Their goal is usually to put down the female lead so they are able to then marry the male lead. But their heart is impure as it gets, and their intentions are usually financial and not so much for the sake of love. They're often backed up by a few other villains that basically repeat everything that they say. Think Crabbe and Goyle from Harry Potter. The male villains are usually a bit more financially focused. They might even try to be friends with the male lead in order to secure a business deal. The mistaken identity narrative works really well with this because the villain will often insult the male lead without realizing that they're the very person that they're also trying to cozy up to in a business sense. This creates many fun scenes when the villain realizes they've made a huge mistake. A very interesting part of their characterization is that they treat everyone below them with great disrespect. They're rude, they harass them, they bully them, they treat them very poorly. However, as soon as someone important runs into the room, their expression and the way that they act completely changes. They become performative. Oh yes, sir, I'll do whatever you need, sir. You're great, you're the best. Absolutely, I will kiss the ground that you walk on. And that shift in character is really important to show the two-sided nature of these villains. This two-sided performance adds a very deep layer to the villain's character, because it shows a high degree of intention to cause actual harm. This makes the audience hate the villain even more, which makes the payoff at the end when the villain gets what's coming to them even more powerful. The second female villain is a very fun bonus trope. This character usually appears in the second act of the story. She will announce herself suddenly and claim that she is already engaged to the male lead. She will immediately begin to fight against the female lead for the love of the male lead. That is all of the standard character tropes in short dramas. But before I finish this video, I would like to comment on one more thing. I want to talk about the purpose of a short drama from the viewer's perspective. The viewers are the customer. They're the ones who pay the platform, so it's really important to have their perspective in mind. Most viewers watch short dramas because it is easily digestible content. Real Short recently put out an article that labeled its own viewers as tasteless and dumb, but I disagree with that, and here is why. If you're watching YouTube, scrolling TikTok, or Instagram, that doesn't make you tasteless, nor does it make you dumb. Vertical dramas have high stakes and simple plots, neither of which is inherently tasteless or dumb. On the other hand, traditional media prides itself on creating epic sagas that challenge your thinking and make comment on complex social issues. It is not a crime, nor is it an inherently negative thing to want to enjoy a simple story. Verticals have immense value in the content mix and provide people a lot of joy. They have seen significant success over the last few years, and this is proof that this sector of entertainment has earned its place in the industry as a whole. My name is Daniel Yongma, and this is Acting Vertical.